How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Disc Golf Show. Today is August 12th, 2025. This is episode 16. We had to start over because apparently I can't get through the intro. I am Nick. As you can see or may not see, Justin is not here. Unfortunately, he got stuck overseas. He is trapped. No, I'm just kidding. Let's move on. With me today is, as Justin does wherever.
Hey, I'm Kenny, aka Can You Putt?
Yep. So, as always, let's get through the intro. Today's episode, as every episode, is brought to you in part by our friends over at Final Nine Sports. They are a pro shop in Northern California. They have two locations, one in Orangevale and one in Rockland. Big shout out to them. They're big supporters of us. We appreciate it. Now, we do always say shop local. Your first choice, go local, right? However, if you go to your local pro shop, we have a remedy for if you cannot find those products that you do want and they are not at your local pro shop. In part, sponsorship as well of the show is Disc Golf Deals USA. If you go to our affiliate link, which is discgolfdealsusa.com/disc golf show, you will get 10% off your order. Some things, there are some things that don't apply, but 99% of stuff off there, you're going to get that 10% discount. So thank you to Disc Golf Deals USA. Again, discgolfdealsusa.com/disc golf show. So thank you very much. Let us jump into the news. As always, when Justin is not here, some of the production is a little less.
News.
Yeah.
We
So
did
let's
our sound
move on
effect.
to the news. Can't go for it.
All right, we're going to start off with, some more good news about Ben. Ben Askren, he's been walking around much more confidently around the hospital and stuff like that. Unfortunately, he's still in the hospital. But good news there. Unfortunately, now we'll go to bad news, good news, bad news. Johnny McRae, though, ended up in the hospital. He had a heart catheter procedure done, and no final answers on what happened. And, but he's back home and he's resting. So, that's great to hear.
Prayers.
Yeah,
Prayers go out to McRae's.
to both of them, yeah, because we're still looking for some recovery. If you don't know, Johnny had a heart attack a few years back, so obviously still got maybe some residual issues. Again, I'm not trying to speculate or anything like that. Anyway, moving on. Also, some more health issues here. Sarah Hokum also had to have a tonsillectomy over in Europe while she was there. So unfortunately, she had to drop from Ledgestone just coming up because of the continuing concerns about her tonsillectomy and safety and things like that. So, she couldn't even fly home. Is that what you said there in the show notes?
Yeah, so apparently she had stated that due to worry about the cauterization on her throat from the
Right.
procedure, that there could be hemorrhage if she was on the plane. And so, therefore,
Right.
she ended up going, you know what, I'm not going to fly. I'm not going to. Smart move.
Yeah, I don't blame her. Well, let's bring it back up now again. Congratulations goes out to Garrett Gerthy, Double G, and Jessica Weiss. They got married during this little time off span, so congratulations to them. Saw some other disc golfers, obviously, in the wedding party and stuff like that. So check out their socials if you want to see that. And then we concluded the voting for the PDGA elections. So again, those things are posted. We got Laura. Oh, wow, you're making me say another weird last name.
It's Nagtagal, I believe.
Okay, she is no
Yeah.
longer on the board of directors as a PDGA.
And, well, so the importance behind that, depending on what side you're on, is all more so related to the trans athletes that are in disc golf.
Okay.
Laura was a big proponent for trans being included in FPO, and so for those of you that, or for those that are pro trans and FPO, this might be a step back. For those that are anti-trans in FPO, this may be a sign of change. So depending on what side you land, I mean, I've voiced my opinion on this. I have two daughters. Personally, I'm not for. Now, I'm not against. Again, this is where everything gets kind of mixed up.
Right.
I'm not against people in general being who they want to be. It's just when it comes to competition, that's where it kind of gets muddy and the lines get a little blurred. So, again, this is just kind of letting people know that Laura is no longer on the board of directors moving forward, at least this year after elections were finalized. Now, let's get on to the tournament topics. Since our last show, a couple big events have transpired. The main one, it's tough to say main one for me on this because the other one that we'll get to is technically bigger overall, but I don't know if it's bigger within disc golf specifically. So, World Championships were held, and these were held in Finland because this was the second one. Both, the what was it? The DGE, the festival.
Yep.
The festival was held. That was a pro, and then the Worlds were held a week and a half later. There were a few things that transpired here during this event. One, we had Kristen DNF due to, she made a post saying that her anxiety was kicking in massively and she was having trouble managing it.
Yeah.
She's getting stressed for, again, we don't know a lot of the backstories, personal stories that people have. You may not see these things pop up until they are serious. These are things that maybe people have a history of dealing with, but you don't see it in the professional life because they're dealing with it in their private life. So ultimately, I hope she's able to manage them better and push past this and find a place where she feels more grounded and secure, because we have noticed it in her play. Her putting has dropped significantly from what we expect. And it's tough to say expect from an athlete like that because everybody goes through their valleys and their highs, your highs and lows.
And she just
So
never gave her toe proper rest that she
that
broke.
yeah,
And she was
she was
playing a ton of events. And even though she dropped from this event, she still, as we'll talk earlier, went to the World Games and
yep,
represented
yep,
Estonia at the World Games.
yep.
So that was also part of her decision to drop now. She really wanted to represent Estonia in the World Games.
Rightfully so. And a positive thing that came out, well, a few positive things. There were some big news actually that came from this year's Worlds.
Yep.
One, Ella Hansen's final round, so her final round at Worlds ended up being rated a 1065 round, which is the highest ever for the FPO division. It's massive. She made a big push in her final round to try to vie for that. And she did a really great job. Came up a little short, but she should be more than proud of herself. Another big thing was you had all these big throwers, right? We talk about distance is important.
Mm-hmm.
It's, unless you're Owen Scoggins and your putt is deadly.
And your putt
Owen
has got some
Scoggins,
distance to it,
yeah, yeah. And the thing is that I've noticed over the past couple of years, she has increased her distance, but it's just not that level of what we see the top throwers throw in FPO.
Sure.
There are bombers. So Owen Scoggins ends up going into overtime, or what do you call it? Death. Yeah. I'm coming up with blanks here. And she went up against the youngest player in Worlds at 15 years old, Ida Letomaki. And there's a lot of discussion as to how the ending of that transpired and decisions made. Owen Scoggins ends up getting that win she is 44.
Correct.
Or no, I think she just turned 45 actually because she just had her birthday. So I think she is now, but at that point she was 44. So she's almost 30 years older. And she and Ida is incredibly good, especially for her age. We've seen this with other players, Cadence. We've seen this with Valerie Montano. We've seen this with some what is the other girl's name? She's redhead and she can bomb like crazy.
Elliot Midling, New Jersey finest.
Yep. Yep, middling. Yep. There are these younger female athletes that are over the next 5+ years
Yeah.
are look like they will be dominant.
Most of those
And
athletes
so,
you mentioned only been playing 3 to 4 years too. We'll just
right,
throw that in there.
which is awesome to see because we've discussed like, is there last episode we kind of discussed like, is there room for growth in players? Now it might be different FPO to MPO, but overall, yes, there is. There's
Yep.
still a lot of room for athletes to be at their peak and their abilities to be pushing higher than what they currently are. So
Right.
big shout out to Ida. But Owen Scoggins did end up getting that victory. And not only did she have the World's Champion FPO, she now has both the Masters Worlds and the Worlds in the same year, which is amazing for her. Like big shout outs to Owen. We all love Owen. She's a big positive influence on the course,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
we hope to continue to see her at the top. But one thing I did want to state is that with all that conversation going on about how Ida handled the playoff,
Mm-hmm.
she has made posts now stating that she's blocking out the hate. She's blocking out the
Good for
questions that
her.
are popping up her decisions, and she's extremely happy with her play. She played an average of 994 disc golf,
Yeah.
when that is 50 points above her rating. So at a major, she's playing fantastic. And she also stated that over this season, she's had 3 second place finishes and 2 fourth place finishes. So she's obviously on upwards trend in her disc golf game.
Sure.
So yeah, I
Yeah,
see
kudos to
us.
her. If you're throwing
Yeah,
any hate towards her because you think she made a math mistake or anything like that, in that final hole, that's that's a decision that's still gonna, as much as she's trying to push it aside, it's gonna haunt her. Of course, it's gonna haunt
it'll
her.
be there.
It'll be
Yeah,
there, but let's just, again, like you stated, Nick, let's focus on the positives here. On how young she is and how she pushed through world champion in front of that crowds, which again we haven't even really touched on. The amount of people that were there watching this young girl play, and Own for that matter, neither of them played in front of that many people and that kind of crowd and that kind of world, situation. So, kudos to both of them.
oh yeah, yeah. That's always the biggest crowd in throughout every year. The one at the Beast always
Hmm.
seems to be the pinnacle of disc golf when it comes to spectators, and it's always fun to see that because it just shows how, for me, it shows how serious the Europeans take it
Yes.
compared to US. Granted, we're a lot more spread out over here,
Yep.
um, and so it's a little tougher, I'd say, to get that kind of spectatorship on our events over here. But that aside, I love seeing the Beast, and then the Monster was played also. But I love seeing the Beast because I don't know. There was some discussion as well about hole 16 and how it's, some people think it's fluky, some people dislike it. Well, actually, JVD said he doesn't like 16. There are ways
Hmm.
that to better, which there's always going to be ways that you can make it better. I after his discussion with it and listening to him talk about that, I totally see that. He has valid points. Um, it's it's tough when one hole can completely wreck your weekend. Like it's one
Yeah.
thing if one hole wrecks your round, but
Sure.
if it wrecks your whole event, that
Yeah.
is something that can be thought of as a negative and may need to be addressed. So I totally see that. But on the other side, when it comes to the players discussing how their game went, we had Gannon Burr, finally a world's champ. He did state prior to actually even playing that if he wins this one, he sees a positive possibility in winning the next 2. So the
Yeah.
confidence level there, like, is insane. Is
Yeah.
insane. We'll get to that a little more about Gannon later on because I do want to talk about his mindset
Sure.
and where he's currently at. But yeah, big shout out to Gannon Burr. He's gotten a 4th major now, and he's among, I think there's only 6 people that have 4 or more,
And
and
again,
he's
very
up.
young. I mean, still so young.
Yep,
20, 21 yet?
yep. I believe
Just
he's
20.
20 still. Yeah. So big shout out to him. Now, as for, like you said, the viewership, there was a viewership record of 1.3 million live views on Sunday. Well deserved. That's huge. That's
Massive.
good. And it was also pushed out by not only DGN, by YLE Broadcasts, which is in Finland. So as the players stated too, all around Finland, there was promotional, stuff up at the stores and on the streets stating that the Worlds is there. So they actually invested a lot, which leads me into videos put up by Drew Gibson. Drew Gibson put up a video stating he doesn't understand how first place payout dropped. And honestly, I totally see his point. First payout from the last 2 years was first place was $30,000. This year it was 20. That is not like $2,000 less.
MP.
That is a third less than what
Yes.
it was. Now, granted, there was probably a ton more back end of how the event was held and put on. There was
Correct.
probably again, like I said, the promotional aspect of it. UC did a fantastic job with that.
Yep.
As from what I understand, this is his last event that he's going to be um,
Yeah, I
promoting
don't
to
know.
that put on.
He posted pretty cryptically about it, but it
Yeah,
certainly seems like he was like, I'm done TD, and mainly because he's
yeah.
like, I can't do any better than what I just did at Worlds. And I
I
agree.
mean,
Like he did
he has the
what
ability though.
he
I
did do
think
that.
he can do better. But this is
Right.
great. Like,
Yeah,
kudos to him. Like, he did a fantastic job. He's well known for putting on great events. So
absolutely.
I just lived up slash exceeded what we expect from UC when it comes to disc golf events. And yeah, I think when it comes to like Drew Gibson, not only did he put that video out, he did put a second video out after further, investigation or whatever you want to call it, where he was
Mhm.
clarifying stating he wasn't stating that it was garbage. He was just confused as to how it could drop that significantly. Like, that is a significant drop. Like, it's
Yes,
not 10%. That is 33% difference in payout. And
yes,
so it's it's definitely something that needs to be brought to light, because yes, we've always seen it grow, but also on the other hand, we have hit a plateau in the growth of disc golf over the past couple of years. We have seen a
sure.
leveling out of disc golf. So there again, there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to events and how events are able to pay out and run, and what
Right.
costs go up for promotion, costs go up for everything year to year. So I'm not giving them an out, because to
Mhm.
me that's too significant of a drop. $5,000 less, maybe I could be a little more understanding, but a
If memory
third
serves
less.
me right, the bottom few caches of FPO division were under $500. There's no way that those
Yeah,
women made money going
nope,
over there. They worked at a loss. Even if their sponsors paid for their trip, which I doubt they did. Most of those
yeah,
players in that bracket that fell in that, because and Drew brought it up. That's a good point. That the people who finished where they finished, it was pretty much chalk. And also,
yep,
so those people that finished at the top maybe didn't necessarily benefit, or I mean, not benefit. Sorry, the exact opposite. Didn't get affected negatively to that payout being dropped, but it's that tier below them, right below them, and then especially the bottom tier of the bottom payouts didn't make any money. They worked at a loss to go over the world. Now, where what you were just talking about though, does this viewership and the amount of people that were there, does that offset the cost for them? Were they over there hustling disc, making new fans on socials, things like that, that now are going to elevate themselves up to be able to offset the cost? Now, it
yeah,
may not even be immediate. It may not be like they're coming home now. It's positive because they sold so many discs, or they, got a new sponsor because they all of a sudden went from, 5,000 people on Instagram to like 15,000 or whatever. I would have loved to, Drew, since he's always talking about, and he knows obviously the pros that were there, I need to hear from those lower end tiered pros. I want to hear that, what their give and take was was for it.
Well,
Was
there's
there even,
so
God,
so
I
there's
don't want to
also
drag it
side.
out or anything like that,
Yeah,
but
no, no, but there's also another side to this that I think about is for those top players, right? As much as we're talking about the cash involved, you
right,
know that title means more than the money
sure, absolutely,
because it's more in the future for negotiations for sponsorship. Having
yes,
having that ranked top 3, top 5, top 10 even, that
yeah,
goes towards, like you said, maybe not now, but future. Now, the other thing I do want to state before we move on is a lot of recognition needs to go to all these players that go over there and do operate, as you said, at a loss because
yes,
they're doing it and it's going towards the growth of disc golf. That, for the viewer, for those who love disc golf, honestly means more because
yes,
that will in the future blow these purses up more and more
yes,
because they're putting in that work early, even though it's as much as we now think, oh, look at where disc golf is, we're
hmm,
still very much in the early stages of the sport.
oh,
You know,
absolutely,
we've been around for what, 60 years?
yeah,
That's not a massive amount of time. You know what I
no.
mean? So I
And
think a
there's so
lot
many
of
countries and places that aren't involved in disc golf.
yeah,
You
yeah,
think of the
yeah,
hugely populated areas, and again, we'll touch on this when we go to World Games, but
yeah.
China is not involved in disc golf. India, not involved in disc golf. Africa, lots of places in Africa. That's why Paul Macbeth Foundation went there. Very huge, 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 huge markets that could absolutely drastically change the game of disc golf.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yep,
the fact that Worlds had the most competitors in the different countries is something we got to look at too. So like you
yes,
said, lots of new faces, lots of new countries, and that means, more country pride, more, things like that, to where people will be drawn into the sport just because they have a representative from their country, from their town, from their continent, playing, things like
yep,
that. Like, that's just all a benefit that we had so many people playing this world. Was the
oh yeah,
payout,
yeah,
you know, affected?
yeah,
Absolutely, but I mean,
yeah.
you can't knock the sponsorship that was there. You can't knock the people that were there. The
Oh yeah,
experience that they had and things like that were
yeah.
phenomenal. The exposure that it got, just
So
all over.
again, with Drew's videos too, you can't knock him. He's bringing
Yeah.
to light issues that need to be brought up, and whether
Yeah.
they're super important to you or not,
Hmm.
an issue. And whether there's a perfectly good reason for it or not, well,
Right.
it's good to find out. So you know, kudos to him for making those videos. I know that he's can be polarizing to some people. I like
Yes.
it because it brings up conversation. So big shout out to Drew Gibson on his videos. And as we were discussing, as you were stating, with World Games, we'll move into that. We had 16 nations, so obviously 32 athletes because there was a male and female athletes from those nations, and it was held on a course, a 12-hole course, so it was a shortened course, kind of
Mhm.
like very park style, from what I understand. The few things that I saw was very open, fairly open, or big bombs up and over trees and stuff like that.
Right.
There was one unique one where there was like a not monument, but like a
Just a
artistic
sculpture.
sculpture where they had to throw through it. It was this big circle. That was unique, and it was held at. I'm definitely going to slaughter this. Zhuxi Ecological Park. I'm going to go with Zhuxi. I don't know if that's right.
Yeah.
Comment down in the lowers if that's wrong. And honestly, it's no surprise. Ken who won? Who won this one?
The Gannons, Gannon Burr and Missy Gannon, won the gold. And like you said, no surprise there. Did love the
Yeah.
gold medal, let me tell you. Again, I'm a big
Yep.
component of that. I saw they had the podium things, but I think to your
I
point two
downloaded
weeks ago,
on
this is where
it's
it
World
should be.
Game. Yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is where it should be.
But
Let's
yeah,
see. And in second place, we had Finland's Evelina Sullivan. Again, no surprise there with her partner. Ooh,
Nest
Nestor,
Nestori
the story.
Nestori
Yeah,
Kukkonen.
and then let's
I'll
see.
slaughter for you, Ken. I'll
Yeah,
slaughter.
you
I'll take
slaughter
that.
the names. Who won
So
bronze here? Go
what
ahead.
was interesting here is bronze was kind of the where all the drama took place because they had ended up going into overtime,
Yeah,
and it was between Latvia and Estonia. So we had Kristen in silver from Estonia, and we had Latvia, Elizabeth Paksina, and Reiners. I'm thinking it's Reiners Balodis. Um, Overtime, Latvia was able to eke it out.
yeah,
Kristen missed a putt outside of where Elizabeth was, and Elizabeth drained her putt, and the Lots did not make the podium. So again, still, I'm sure there was extenuating circumstances with
yeah,
Kristen. Uh, she can't just closet it when it's been
no,
affecting her so recently. So
hmm
again, not giving her excuses, just stating the facts. But
yeah,
I they have there was talk about Bjerkis, PDGA, right? Doug talking with
yeah,
the people who run World Games about making sure that disc golf stays in the World Games, and I think he said 2029, which I believe it might be in Germany. I think. So there's still discussion there. And the big thing I think that's even more important than that is that there was a live viewership just solely from China of
mm,
15 million live viewers during
that,
competition for disc
yeah,
golf. So as you stated, China being one of those areas where disc golf is not so prominent, is not so big, we do have some Chinese athletes. Um, that's massive that
absolutely.
they're getting that viewership over there. So big shout out to those competitors over at the World Games. Big shout out to Missy Gannon Burr um, with the big win there. Another, uh, though it doesn't affect his counts in disc golf,
Right.
PDGA wise, that is a massive feat for them. And it's good to see disc golf just promoted in general in other countries. Turku Open was just recently held, and it's one of the newer events on Disc Golf Pro Tour. It looks like kind of like a what was the one? It's not PCS. Um, it looks more of like a disc golf course or a golf course style location. Very
Right.
beautiful, as is everything over there. The courses seem to be amazing. But this is one of the newer courses. I watched a couple of the practice round videos from a couple of the athletes that were there. The majority of the
Mhm.
athletes did not play in this event. We noticed via our skip ace that a lot of them,
Yeah,
which I'll get to that as well, but a lot of the players ended up coming back because we have a couple big events coming back now that the tour is returning to the U.S. So I did
right.
want to do shout out though to the winners of Turku Open. That is Silva Saarinen. No surprise there. If she's in there,
Nope.
she's going to be vying for it. And then we had
Another
Ezra.
playoff
Ezra.
though. She won in a playoff, so that's the
Yep.
the third
Yeah,
one
that's
now
true.
we're talking about in this podcast alone.
Yeah, exactly. And then Ezra Robinson got another win. So big shout out to Ezra for this is his second tour win now. Um, so kudos to them. We do have a couple more little things here that we can discuss before moving on to the question of the show. You want to take those?
Yeah, sure. Quick shout out to Kela Visca for a new record, winning an A tier or higher for 20 consecutive years. That is just incredible.
Dude.
An 8
Yeah.
pair or higher, 20 years in a row that he's won. I mean, just think about that. I've been playing since 1994. So basically, almost the whole entire time I've been playing, at least really paying attention to the pros, I'll say, for sure,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he's been winning at a high level like that. That
Yeah.
kudos to him. That is awesome. And in some ratings talk, I personally am not a huge person of ratings, but I'm going to give the flowers to the people that may. We talked about Gannon Burr. He is now at 1061 rated. He's 1 point behind the all-time high of 1062 Paul Macbeth, of course, in July of 2020 when Paul reached that rating. So now here in 2025, Gannon Burr has a rating of 1061. So that's
He's
well,
showing he's
go
he's
ahead.
showing his dominance. He's definitely
Oh,
showing his dominance.
absolutely.
And as much as I had this, and I brought this up last time, there are people that I didn't necessarily like out the gate.
Hmm.
Um, we discussed last episode with Calvin. It's
Right.
because personality. I didn't know his personality yet, and I need to know that about the players before I like them, right? More so like
Sure.
them. I can appreciate their play and everything, but
Hmm.
them as a person, I've got to have some sort of a connection, right?
Right. Right.
This
Right.
is one of a Gannon when he first started out. Like, you've got to be, I don't want to say cocky, but you've got to be very confident and sure of yourself.
Yeah.
But there's a line there for me that I don't I don't want you to be too confident to where you do look cocky. I want you to be confident to where you're sure of your game, but it's a balancing act from my personal point of view when it comes to who I like and who I don't.
Sure.
He initially wasn't the biggest. I wasn't the biggest fan. However,
Okay.
I respect even from the get go. I respected his um, mental game. He
Right.
had it down. And once I started seeing more of his personality come out, and as he's matured over the past few years, like I can't not like him. I can't not like him. He's
Yeah.
pushing the bar currently how Macbeth did previously, and it's good to
Absolutely.
see that because you won't get growth without that bar being pushed.
Right.
So he's taken it on his shoulders, and he has the confidence, as stated previously. He's looking forward to the next two worlds. Now that he's won one, that he's the one to be the taking that torch, and I hope it continues. It's a tough bar to reach, though he is pushing the bar currently. He's still got that bar of Macbeth and Climo to hit, like lifetime wise, career wise. But that's
Yeah.
good to have that because that helps you push yourself anyway. And
Right.
out of that, you will be able to push the game forward. So big shout out to him. I think reason being one reason why I stated that is that him taking the torch, there's a 12-point difference between his current player rating and second
Hmm.
player at 1049, which is Calvin Heimberg. And that means there's literally nobody in the 1050s right now, which
Yeah.
is weird to say. So that's strange to see because I went on PDGA and I just looked up just straight overall ratings, and it jumps from 1049 to 1061. So that's I mean
Right.
you
It's
can't deny.
unusual. There's almost always been somebody in the 1050s, for the longest
Yeah,
time.
yeah. But yeah, outside of that, there's 12 people, and this also tells you how competitive it is now. Currently, there's 12 people in the 1040s or higher,
Hmm.
and it bumps 48 once you get down to the 1030s. So there's less than 50 people that are currently rated 1030 or higher, which is a tight group. When you drop that down even further, you're still under 100. You're only at 76 when you get down to the 1020s. Or no, sorry, 124 of 1020s or
Right.
higher. But there is 76 people inside the 1020s area. And just as a note, Climo is currently at 1019. So yeah, he's older now,
Yeah.
but still he's at 1019. He's within the
Right.
top
Right.
125. You know,
Sure.
so yeah, it's interesting. I wonder how will at this rate 1062 won't be the highest ever player
No.
rating at this rate. How things are moving and how Gannon's playing.
Right.
How high that can be pushed, we'll see. We'll see over the next, well, over the future, within the future. That could always be pushed depending on how ratings change. Will it be changed overall? Because right now ratings are a topic of discussion when it comes to why ratings are the way they are. Like you
Right.
said, you don't, honestly, I don't put value in the rating itself. I put value in how the person's playing the event. And that's what I look at.
Okay.
But when you want, I am a numbers guy too. So like I like to see these things because it does kind of explain some stuff, but how those numbers are generated is what's in question. So
Yeah.
does
There
the
was
course does the course do courses have a specific rating for the course, or do you do this rating based on round? Which is
sure.
there's arguments on both there's arguments on
Right.
both sides. But yeah, all right, guys. Well, let's move on to disc golf conversation. This is our question of the show. So put in your little musical information here for transfer. Um, disc golf conversation question is disc golf in the Olympics a necessary goal to have for the sport? And yes or no, why? Do you think it's extremely important for us to concentrate on getting disc golf in the Olympics?
And I'll give my quick short answer is yes, I think it's important to get in the Olympics for reasons we already stated in the podcast today. Just to get that world viewership um, exposure that we have. Some of the only times I watch certain sports are when they're in the Olympics. Judo. I love mixed martial arts. I watch mixed martial arts all the time. Weightlifting. I really focus on watching the Olympics in weightlifting, and I love weightlifting. I've competed in weightlifting, albeit only once or twice. I've still competed in it, and I've weightlifted most of my life, despite my round shape. I love powerlifting. I love those competitions, but especially tuned into the Olympics for those things. A lot of the track and field events that I watch, I only ever watch during the Olympics. Again, I'm dragging on a little further. My point being that disc golf, I think, not only should we push it for the Olympics, it needs to be in the Olympics. Now that we have so many countries playing disc golf, I think it only makes sense that if we were allowed in the World Games, that we should be allowed in the Olympics. There's enough countries to be represented that to have it in the games, and it's only going to get more exposure for the sport, more understanding of the sport, and see that it is a sport. Because again, as we saw and we talked about a month ago, that Jimmy Fallon, Brad Pitt thing, just we got to get that stigma off of the sport. And if you want that stigma to change, it's got to be pushed into the World Games, into Olympics, into more countries and more eyeballs and things like that to
Yeah,
grow.
I think yeah, legitimacy is a big goal for disc golf. Having it being seen as, like you said, a sport. I always try to refer to the players as athletes. I try not to call
Same.
them players. They're full on athletes. There's off season regiments that they go through with training and stuff now that are more specific and more taken more seriously by the competitors. Um, yeah, I think having the Olympics is a great goal to have. I'm just curious on a branch off of this. Do you think it's a necessary, like, immediate goal? Granted, it's a good it is a goal that we need to have. We it needs to be in the Olympics for all the reasons you said. But is it something? Is there other things that are more important currently, immediately, that need to be addressed for the sport, or do you think that we're at a point where this can be a more um, serious uh, point of interest for the sport?
I
Does that? Does that change your thought process at all?
I think the immediacy is actually the most important it could ever be. We just talked about the numbers that we got in Finland of people watching the sport. We were just in the World Games. I think the faster and the quicker we get into the Olympics, especially with the Olympics only being every 4 years, the quicker, the better to ride that momentum. Because if we wait, it's at least going to be 8, 12 years. That momentum will completely be gone, and it'll be one of those Olympic sports where people are like, why is disc golf an Olympic sport? Like you hear about certain, events, and I'm not going to mention any because, again, my opinion is different than others, and it doesn't matter. What my opinion is. I think we need to ride the momentum. We need to get it into the Olympics as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think hitting the iron while it's hot is definitely important. Take advantage of like you said, the momentum. It's definitely something that you need to concentrate on now.
Yep.
And because, like you said, if you wait too long, that opportunity might be missed. So yeah, let's move on to gear and equipment. We have another question, but we can save that for next episode. Gear and equipment is brought to you in part by, actually, gear and equipment is brought to you by discgolfdealsusa.com/disc golf show. Big shout out to our friends online at Disc Golf Deals USA. Get that 10% off on your orders. Surprisingly, not surprisingly, I think it's not surprising because such big events have transpired over the past few weeks. Nothing was approved over from the August 4 date because that tends to be when they approve things. Is I believe it's every Monday, but there was one approval just yesterday, and that was from EV7. If you don't know who they are, they're the ones that Drew Gibson used to putt with. I don't know if he still is sponsored by them for his putter, but EV7 released the Agera-1. So link will be down below if you want to go check that out. It looks like kind of like a mid-range if you
Okay.
look on .com. So I don't know how many discs they currently have, but this is their most current approved mold. Outside of that, we do have some other products that we like to promote. One is our friends over at Vessi Shoes, though we do love our idios. We do have an affiliate link for Vessi that is down below, so go check that out. There was a couple other recently announced products. One is Discraft and Ledgestone cards, so collab by Brixton, our friends over at Brixton. So big shout out to them. What they did was, I think it was kind of like a promotion from Ledgestone to Discraft saying, hey, we got these. It was kind of a surprise type thing. And they are collectible. Oh, okay. Yep. Collectible. Oh, nice. Collectible cards from Brixton, and they are specifically Discraft/Ledgestone. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of products. They have a lot. The majority of the cards in there are disc related, so they say the name of the disc and some information on it. There are some that are player related. There are some chases. So I believe there are some that are 1 in 50, 1 in 100, such different foils, silver, gold foils, and such. Go check them out. I think they're supposed to release later today for purchase on Discraft. So if you're a Discraft fan or a Ledgestone fan or both, you're going to want to grab these, because not only that, they're also doing a promotion where they have 5 sets of these premium cards. And I think they're all black, and they have 5 full sets of them. The first person to collect a certain, you can look this up on Discraft, or actually on one of their, if you go on their social media, you can see the video about it. The first person to collect a full set of one type of card will get this full set of only one of 5 sets. The next 2 are relegated to another collection, 2 other collections. The last 2 are going to be auction based. So I think those are going to the Paul Macbeth Foundation. You'll be able to purchase through auction. So I like cards. I like those cards. I think this is cool. I do like their Brixton mainline cards that they put out, and I'm looking forward to this next set that they release, just specifically on disc golf as a whole, not necessarily manufacturer based. But it's good to see these things, varieties coming out, more
Yeah,
collector
for
stuff.
sure.
Yeah. The other thing is that Discmania. I just saw a recent post from, I believe it's Another Round, the guy who runs Another Round. Discmania has made a statement that they have released discs that fly 10 to 15% further no matter the arm speed. And what they did is what they're stating is that they're reducing the weight of the flight plate and putting that weight into the rim, which results in a disc that spins longer. It was funny because
Sure.
underneath that, under the comments, Big Germ made a post saying, "Oh, there should be a manufacturer that does such a thing," hinting at that's kind of the idea
Right.
behind.
It's a technology that MVP already has.
Yeah, yeah. But if that's a technology that is advantageous to the athlete, why wouldn't you adopt that thought? You
Right.
want the discs to go further, right? That's what you're going to. So they're finding ways to adapt and change their production process and whatnot, and how they make discs. We discussed last episode or the episode before. Are there areas in which disc molds can be revised? Like, are there ways that they can be improved? Well, we're still seeing it. There's still ways in
Yeah.
which they're playing with how molds can be changed and affect the flight of the disc. So we'll see how that goes forward, how many
Yep.
molds that they'll apply that to. But those are the other products for our gear and equipment section. And we will move into insert transition. Ken's fantasy segment. Here you go.
Yes. Ken's fantasy segment. I love it. Mostly because I'm still winning despite Europe really hitting me hard, which I knew it would. And as Justin discussed in our private chat, our group chat, he left the European events in there because he drafted for the European events. And if your leagues did that, and you played through, the wild amount of player swings from everybody being at Worlds to, not too many people being at Turco, you know, kudos to you. I'll say again,
Yeah,
it was rough. It was rough.
you still
I
got
think I
you still
barely
got
had.
a good.
I think I had 3 players going in the last event, but that's all right. I'm still first place in our league overall on both things, points um and wins and
Win.
losses. So, but enough
So
about me. I would definitely look, at your Ledgestone schedule. That's the next event coming up. I would assume now, and again, I haven't actually even started to look at it, even though it starts, I think, Thursday already, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a 4-day event. Look at the rosters and for sure check your lineups because I would imagine a lot of the Europeans now are going to stay in Europe. So if you had, a contingency of European players that you picked up during this swing, I would now look at free agent, market. I know in our free agency, we got James Conrad. He always takes off towards the end of the season, things like that. I looked at him to pick up. I was considering him. There's a couple people on my bottom tier, that I might take a flyer on someone like a James Conrad or something like that. If for some reason Chris Dickerson isn't in, anybody's lineup, I would pick him up. He always finishes strong down the stretch. Things like that. I would look at those type players, but definitely check your lineups. Do it quickly because Ledstone's going to be here before you know it. And like I said, I don't believe, for the most part, a lot of it, and again, I always speak a lot on the FPO because I think a lot of people don't pay attention to the FPO. Pretty sure a lot of the European FPO are not going to be there, so you're going to have to, take a flyer on some of those. For us, we're lucky we only have 2 roster slots, so we pretty much have the bench, to hold the FPO players. But if your league's not like that, again, look into a Emily Weatherman if she's still out there. Macy Veladiaz, probably is gonna pick back up and start playing again. If she's, on the waiver wires, definitely take a flyer on her. She is absolutely gonna, always performs well at Ledgestone and things like that. And you know, they tweaked the course again this year, right?
They do every year, so I'm sure they made some
Yeah, I think
adjustments.
they did again. I think there's a few changes again at Ledgestone. They play in two courses too again, right?
Are they? They're playing two courses?
I always thought they did in the last few years. Maybe that's just
They might.
something I am
But
completely unaware of, but I'm pretty sure they do two courses at Ledgestone nowadays. Or do they do that big super
yeah,
hard one?
no, I believe you're right. It looks like there's three, but I don't know if it's there's Eureka Lake, Sunset Hills, and Northwood Black.
Well,
So
anyway, that doesn't really affect
that's probably
fantasy
dependent on
too
the
much.
pool. Probably dependent on the
Okay,
pool.
gotcha. So, but that's really all I have to say about Skip Ace. Again, going to, if you do play on Skip Ace like we do, there has been some bumps in the road. Jonathan addressed that today. You know that he's doing the updates during the season and during the European stretch on purpose, so he can do it while we're playing, while we're using the site and things like that to find these little bugs and to get them worked out and things like that. So cut him some slack if you notice some things aren't working correctly or whatever, because I love the new look of the site. I love the new features that are on there. That he's made it way easier, user friendly, even for the free version, which I still have. And again, next year, I definitely am going to upgrade to Pro because he deserves it. You know the money that he puts into it and stuff like that, and the time that he's putting into it because he still works a full time job. He's a father. He's got kids. He's got a life, and then he's doing Skip Ace on top of it and doing the programming and stuff himself. So just wanted to shout out, JVD.
Yeah, and
For
he's
my
on it
money, you're
like
doing fantastic.
yeah, yeah. I contacted him because I contacted him about some odd things that I thought I saw and discussed. He was on top of it. He was all over it.
Yep.
One thing is that I know that I think still needs to be addressed is whether or not it shows the player currently playing or not. But yeah, it looks it looks better. Who doesn't love dark mode? I'm
Right.
all over that. And yeah, big shout out. Go check them out. One thing I would say is
Absolutely.
what's a specific MPO and FPO player that you think have a 90+% chance at winning?
Did you have a connection issue or something there, Nick? I
Or,
saw a
or
little
maybe
swirly.
you can
Yeah.
hear me.
Okay, you still there? I can still hear you
Yeah,
barely.
yeah.
You're
Okay,
you're definitely glitching a little more than usual, but
okay. All
maybe
right.
it's just
Well,
on
no
me.
worries. We can.
But
Fine.
if you
It's
want to move
fine.
on
We
to
can.
the upcoming events, go for it.
Yeah, yeah. Upcoming events, as we always touch on, we have August 14th to 17th, which is just
Oh, I think he's gone. He's frozen on my end. So I don't know what he mentioned. I know in the upcoming events for me, we've got August 14th through the 17th. Like we said, Ledgestone is coming up. August 22nd through the 24th, we've got the LWS Open in Idlewild. That's always a good one. Idlewild is always very well attended and everything like that. We've mentioned it throughout the podcast. September 12th through the 14th, the Canadian Championships. It's a disc golf pro tour Q series. And then September 20th, Throw for More campaign, last day of summer, Paul Macbeth Foundation collaboration. And let's see, looks like Nick is back, so I'll let him talk more about the Throw for More campaign if you're there. I couldn't hear you at all there. Oh, now it's just me on the screen. So I would assume you're trying to come back and come back in. Anyway, it's in our show notes. If you want to see these events that are coming up, absolutely do that and check out an event for yourself. If you haven't gone to a disc golf pro tour event or even a tier or something like that, I highly recommend that. Support the venue and things like that they got going on. I'm going to try to stall a little bit here while we're waiting for Nick to reconnect because we got the mag and a product that's making a return that I know. Hey, I see you, Nick.
Okay, good. I don't know what's
Hear
going on.
you
We almost had it good. We almost had it good.
I
Um,
just,
okay,
on a selfish note, real quick, I'm just happy it's you that's dropping out
it's
last
me and
minute
not you. Yeah, I
and
don't
not
even know
me.
what's happening either.
So,
Like,
Justin,
okay,
if you're going to get mad at anybody, you can get mad at
you can
him.
get mad at me. That's fine. That's perfectly fine.
I kind of
Um,
stumbled through the upcoming events. If you want to hit the mailbag and the product preview, because I know you're involved in the what's
oh
coming up
yeah,
in this next
yeah,
one.
sure. So you hit up all the Throw for More campaign and everything.
A little bit.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I would say go check the YouTube on the Throw for More campaign. It's a good
Cause.
cause. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you very much. All right, guys. Mailbag. We'll move on to the mailbag, and hopefully I don't drop out again. I have no clue what's happening with my phone lately. Actually, you know what? That gives me a good idea. I can go get a new phone now. That's perfect.
There you go.
Perfect. All right, guys. Let's go to the mailbag. We have a couple things that we like to do with mailbag. That's product review, videos that we want to suggest you to check out. The product review that I'm going to suggest is a return of Perfect Putt 360. If you don't know what Perfect Putt 360 is, it's an app that's created to give you practice routines for your putts, and they range from the original one was ranged from 10 feet to 30 feet. You'd have 10 putts, you'd have 2 rounds, and you'd get to feel that rhythm of putting and that muscle memory. They stopped functioning several years ago, but now they're making a return, which is awesome because it's a great app. It's free app in addition. Uh, Now with this new version, I'm doing some testing right now with them. This new version, they have 3 different game modes. It is light, normal, and pro. So light is only giving you 5 putts at each station. So 10 feet, 15 feet, 20, 25, and 30. So very, very doable to see how through that progression, how consistent you are and where you're missing. There's normal, which is the original, 10 throws from each of those same locations. And now they have a pro, which kicks it out further. No pro is worried about their 10 or 15-foot putt. So what they've done for pro is they've pushed it from 20 to 40. So 20, 25, 30, 35, and 40-foot putts. Um, Within those putting areas, those stations, at each of those rounds, those game modes, you can get bonus points. So if you make your first putt out of the 5 or 10, you get a bonus point. You make your last putt, you get a bonus points depending on the distance. So that varies as well. And if you get all putts made, you get a bonus. So it's really cool. That's why through the normal and pro at 10 throws each, Perfect Putt 360. 360 is the perfect score. So you do what you can with that. The other features that they've put in there is there's comprehensive performance tracking and analytics. There's streak tracking, and there's achievements that you're going to be able to celebrate for milestones and such, which is really cool because it makes it kind of into a game for you outside of just practice putting.
Yep.
I think that's really cool. I did go through each of those game modes. They're great, whether you're beginner or pro. And then once you do more than one in normal or pro, you're going to start to see your trend of how you're doing. I think the additions that they've made to this are awesome. I think they're going to get a good support for this app. Like I said, it's going to be called, or it was called and is returning with the same name, Perfect Putt 360. So keep your eyes peeled for that when that does release and as it grows. Till release, we'll continue to put it in here because I'd like to see that come back full, and I'd like to see a lot of people use that app. Really cool app.
I agree. Great for,
Yep,
your putting routine, kind of gets boring after a while, especially if you're just kind of trying to go through the motions. This app
yeah,
I think is perfect for people who can't, who need some kind of competition, something to stimulate them other than just going out there and just, oh, let me go to the edge of the circle. I suck at these and start
yeah.
slinging disc into the basket.
Well, yeah, and starting at those closer spots, that gives you kind of a confidence boost for the further you go back. You
Absolutely.
go, okay, then in your head, you're just thinking, I just need to throw a little bit harder or a
Yep.
little bit higher, depending on your putting style. Yeah, I think that it also gives you the stats for your first putt and last putt. So it gives you percentages on if you hit every single first putt or every single
Yeah.
last putt or a mixture or
That's
whatnot.
awesome.
There's a lot of analytics going into it, which I was, again, I'm a numbers guy. I like to see that stuff. So big shout out to Perfect Putt 360. The other items that we want to discuss are a couple videos for you. The first video that I thought I'd throw in here was the practice round from MVP. That is with Simon Lizotte, Eagle McMahon, and Silva Saarinen. You get to see a little more personality with Silva,
Yes, you do.
but she's still so stoic. She doesn't have like, and again, part of it is probably in her confidence in English. That's probably a big part of it.
I
But
do.
like Silva's amazing to watch play, so that's a big plus.
Right.
And you get a little bit more personality in that. Go check that out. The link is going to be down below.
On that
And
note,
what's
real
that
quick,
second?
again, I know we're running long. Um,
Oh, it's okay.
to prove your point on Silva, she did a practice round in her native tongue with a native speaker, and it was just her and another gentleman, and they went through, and she was smiling, cracking up, and all that. Again, I watched a few minutes of it because I didn't understand the language barrier, but I watched it just for that point of Silva's personality is there. She's just got to be comfortable,
Yeah,
So I think the language is 90% of it, honestly.
there
So,
you
but
go.
anyway, yeah.
That makes complete sense.
Right. And then the video that I submitted that we have the link for here is, I don't, any of you don't know, I'm a huge, metalhead from way back when, also, into punk and things like that. So I happen to, and I'll state this first, is I happened to meet this gentleman on the disc golf course. He was super humble, did not say who he was, just asked if he could play around with us during leagues. And I saw the tattoos, and again, having a big interest in the music scene, I recognized some of the bands that were tattooed on him, his image, his demeanor. And then I keyed in the one quick thing he said. He goes, Innova just sent me these discs, so I'm still not quite sure how they fly. And right away I went, are you a sponsored player through them? He goes, well, yeah, I'm a celebrity sponsored player. And I said, so let me guess, you're a musician. Yes. So Dennis, and again, I should know his last name. I think it's just Lixon is kind of how the Americans pronounce it. He pronounces it different. Has done now his second collaboration with Innova Disc. This one is for his band Refused, which is the band he's most famous for. They put out Refused is, and I'll edit out the word, dead. They just did their last tour through the states and everything. So unfortunately, if you missed them, you missed them. They're retired now, but they have a disc that they did collaborate with Innova, which was the Thunderbird, right? Am I reading that right? Yes, Thunderbird that they did. I ordered the disc. I can't wait. I'm going to get it on Friday. It's a shame we're recording on a Tuesday, by the way, if you guys don't know. I'll have it on Friday. But I jumped at it as soon as I saw that it was a collab with Dennis, and the fact that I actually played a couple rounds with him. And he mentions in his collab video that I have linked here that he likes to just play with random people, in between gigs and stuff like that as he goes out. And I happen to be one of those random people that he played with twice. We had such a good time on the course the first time. He had mentioned, like, hey, I'm doing rehearsals, on such a day. After I'm done with rehearsals, I'd love to get out and play. And I ended up picking him up and everything and taking him to the course and playing another round, just him and I. He's so humble, such a cool guy. Never let on that he, played in front of hundreds of thousands of people and all that. But anyway, I'm rambling, I'm going on. Check out the video. Support if you want. I think it's awesome again to get disc golf into celebrities' hands because again, it's another way to grow the sport. I'm glad that Innova does some celebrity sponsorships and things like that. We've talked about that in the past, so please check out
Yeah,
that video, check out the disc.
Yeah, you definitely need celebrities. In addition, just for outreach purposes, it's good to see them do those. There's a big cross between music lovers and disc golf, and it's awesome. It's awesome that they do these collabs, like kind of out of the blue, sometimes. And yeah, big shout out to Refuse and Innova. So another collab. All right, guys, that brings us to outro. We almost made it through a whole show without my phone giving up. Moving on, we do like to give out a couple, ways that you can save money. Who doesn't love to save money? If you need a new bag or in the market for a new bag, go to Upper Park Disc Golf. You can use code Disc Golf Show, and you can get 15% off your purchase of a new bag from Upper Park Disc Golf. And then our one of our sponsors, Disc Golf Deals USA. If you cannot find the disc that you need at your local pro shop, because we love to promote local, go to discgolfdealsusa.com/disc golf show, and you can get 10% off of your purchase. Some things apply. But yeah, those two. And then big shout out to our partial sponsor for the podcast, Final Nine Sports. If you have any issues, problems with what was discussed, you can send me hate mail at nick@discgolfshow.com. Bring it. Can at discgolfshow.com. But if you have any topics you want us to discuss, any things that you think need to be talked about, you can send emails to theshow@discgolfshow.com. Again, thank you to Final Nine Sports. 2 locations, one in Rockland, one in Orangevale, Northern California, Disc Golf Deals USA and Upper Park Disc Golf. And before I move on, please subscribe, click that notification bell for future videos, and hit that like button. It's very much appreciated. And so for Ken, Justin or so, and I, in disc golf as in life, aim high and let it fly.